Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to another Legends of 40K video. I figured I'd talk about the Space Wolves and the Space Putt special character, Logan Grimnar. But joking aside, Logan Grimnar is a cool special character. He's another, what people use as an example as another type of beatstick special character HQ that's come out recently, one that's, very good, essentially, is what people use, I guess, in this term. The terminology for beatstick not only means just can kick your ass in close combat, but basically a very good special character in terms of war gear, stat line, rules, and whatnot. Which isn't a bad thing. I mean, it makes sense for a lot of coaches to have something like this. I'm not going to get into the argument of, the trend with special characters or anything because I don't want to. But he is another example of a beatstick and has been compared to Abaddon, who essentially has set the stage or set the bar, whatever term you want to use, for beatstick characters. If a character approaches Abaddon in terms of stature or whatever, then the character is often thought to be either very good or overpowered or just a bit of both or whatever by some people. So let's get right to it with Logan Grimnar. He's 275 points, so he's points heavy. Weapon skill is 6, ballistic skill of 5, strength of 4, toughness of 4, 3 wounds, initiative 5, 5 attacks, leadership 10, 2 plus save. He's unique, he's infantry. He has the war gear of Terminator armor, the Axe of Mordecai, Wolf Tooth necklace, Wolf Tail talisman, Storm bolter, the Belt of Rust, Saga of Majesty. The Saga is listed as war gear. It kind of makes sense. Special rules: and they shall know no fear, acute senses, counterattack, eternal warrior, independent character, stubborn, living legend, the High King. A lot of special rules. But some of these special rules are just for being a space marine, and some of them for being a space wolf, like acute senses and counterattack. He is the Great Wolf, meaning he lets Wolf Guard units count as troop in any army that includes him. So that's pretty cool. That is how he allows you to feel the Space Wolf Terminator army. I'll get to that in a moment. Living Legend means he can call on his men to redouble their efforts and attack with all their might. For the rest of the player turn, all friendly models within 18 inches get +1 attack. Now this can only be done once per game, but it can definitely help. The High King, pretty much, he's good at commanding and inspiring troops and whatnot. So you may choose one of the following special rules at the beginning of each turn, meaning both yours and your opponent's turn. And the special rules you can choose from are Fearless, 10 counters, Relentless, Preferred Enemy. Logan and any unit he is with have that rule for the duration of that player turn, which is pretty handy. As far as war gear, he has the Axe of Mordecai. Basically, the Axe of Mordecai is used as a frost blade, or if Logan wields it with both hands, a power fist. And he may allocate his attacks as he sees fits between these two modes of attack. So you can do 2 power fist attacks and the rest frost blade attacks, vice versa, or any combination, which is pretty cool. It makes it very handy. So, that being said, I want to make a quick mention to Belial, the Deathwing master of the Deathwing, who is the first company captain, essentially. Now, Logan Grimnar is built around the idea and the mold of a chapter master special character. So he has more war gear, more rules, and more badassery to him innately than captain special characters we get. So I think it's a bit unjust to compare not just Belial to Logan Grimnar, but any company captain type of special character to a chapter master type of special character. Because for the most part, the chapter master gets all the cool bells and whistles, or a lot of the cool bells and whistles in one package. Now, there are some examples of exceptions, like Mephiston, but we'll get to that another time. Anyway, needless to say, Logan Grimnar also allows you to field Terminators as troops, essentially, through the Wolf Guard. You take a Wolf Guard squad and you upgrade them to be equipped with Terminator armor, and you equip it how you see fit. Now, do some people play an army like this? Of course, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I personally wouldn't really recommend it with Logan Grimnar. Not because Deathwing is far superior. I mean, I personally think Deathwing's a better army list for pure Terminators, but that's a different story. The reason why I wouldn't feel Logan Grimnar not just Terminator heavy, but Wolfguard heavy is because Wolfguard, even in both forms, really don't have good fire support to lend to an army of just them. They can get the cyclone missile launchers, they can get some melted guns, yeah, or combi weapons, but either they're getting close or you're relying on Strength 8 as your best anti-tank option. And honestly, I just feel that even if you equip, even if you field Dreadnoughts with them, that you're going to have a very small army because Logan Grimnar is expensive. The Terminators that you can equip as you see fit can get expensive, and Dreadnoughts are expensive. So if you take a Land Raider, that's also expensive. So just like Deathwing, you're going to have a small army. And the reason why I say I wouldn't recommend it with Logan is because he's 275 points right there. That's a big chunk of an army list, especially one that's not really supported too well, because it doesn't have the heavy weapons to bring to bear. I think it's great to take some Wolf Guard in an army with Logan Grimnar as troops. You have extra scoring units that are elite and hard hitting, but really the Long Fang squads are a great squad in my opinion. There's other really good things. The Grey Hunters are very good, and I think, like, you know, take a Grey Hunter squad, take a Long Fang squad, and then take 2 or 3 Wolf Guard if you really want to be Wolf Guard heavy. But am I saying it's impossible to field a pure Wolf Guard army? No, I'm not. I'm just saying I think Logan Grimnar is better suited to an army that incorporates more of the Codex. That being said, how I would use him is twofold. You can put him with Wolfguard or with Blood Claws or whatever and have them go Hell's Bells at the enemy. But you have to be careful. It's another very easy way to overextend yourself. And all Terminators and all characters are weak in the shooting phase. Meaning the shooting phase is the easiest way to drop a character. Yes, he has a Storm Bolter, but that limits him to shooting infantry and that mid-range. How I would use him is, well, one way I would suggest using him, and I think is cool, just out of the sheer cool factor, and could be pretty effective, is he can join squads as independent characters. So, might as well attach him to some Long Fangs. If you're going to have heavy support and you really want, that's going to be a big focus of your army, having some relentless Long Fangs and can really be pretty awesome. Walking around, blowing away the enemy, getting the good fields of fire, things like that. Now, that being said, of course, that's not always going to be the most effective, and then Logan Grimnar can go and attach himself to another squad. I'm a big fan of using special characters like this as a deterrent to being assaulted, or in a way to reinforce your line. Not defining the line by going out there being a badass, but reinforcing it. So that's what I would suggest doing. Either, you know, the Long Fang thing is just one idea, just have the sheer cool factor of it, but attach them to something, be it Terminators, be it Wolfguard and non-Terminator armor, just some power armor, or Grey Hunters or whatever. But definitely support him with the squad. And I would highly suggest taking a more cosmopolitan, quote-unquote, list, meaning a list that has not just Wolfguard in it. At the very least, take some Long Fangs or something, or a vehicle like a Predator or something like that. But only because if he was cheaper, I'd say go for it. But 275 points is big, and in such a small army, it's easier to pick him out and deal with him in the squad he's attached to. So that's why I suggest fielding some Grey Hunters or some Blood Claws. And I really think that the Space Wolf armies and troop choices they have already are pretty solid in and of themselves. So the Wolfguard are just there to add, you know, icing to the cake, so to speak. That being said, I know some people may be thinking or may even comment, you know, I field Wolfguard Terminator army list, or I've seen them work very well and they're fine and they're awesome. I'm not saying they're not. I'm just saying it's a little different even when you compare it to Deathwing, because Belial is only 130 points, where here it's 275 points. And then you have to take Wolfguard and upgrade them to be in Terminator armor, which they are a little bit cheaper than per model than Deathwing is per model for Terminators, but then they have a Storm Bolter and a Power Sword for the Wolfguard, which is a great mode, don't get me wrong, that's a very cool way to field them. But if you want the Power Fist, that's extra. You want Chain Fist, is extra. Everything else is extra that you add on to it. And they can take quite a few options and upgrades, which is very cool, personalize them very well, makes them very effective in squads. But that also gets expensive, so you have to kind of weigh it together. Do be careful. If he's on foot, put him with the squad. Try and make him mechanized, only because he's, as Terminators, he's slow. And if you do attach him to non-Terminator squads, remember, he can't sweeping advance. So, one thing to think about. Also, don't forget about his axe and Mordecai. He can be very effective against vehicles, monstrous creatures. Like, don't forget that it can also be a Power Fist. Some people, even though it's your codex in your army, you just, in the heat of the moment, you forget because it looks just like an axe. It doesn't look like a Power Fist. So that's pretty much it for how I'd use him. Now, in a change of pace, I'm going to talk about what I think needs fixing now, last, essentially. Firstly, model-wise. His Stormbolter arm is cool. I'm a big fan of this type of Stormbolter, and his axe arm is pretty cool. I like the posing of it, and the axe does kind of look cool. I'm not a big fan of wolves in general, but the axe is a very cool looking axe. That being said, his model is kind of plain Jane after that. I mean, you got the Belt of Rust here, you got his wolf tooth necklace and his wolf tail talisman. That's very nice, and he's got a wolf pelt, and like a unique-ish looking head. But I just feel he looks kind of slumped over, kind of hunchbacked a little bit. I know I've seen him in person also, and I know he's kind of doing like a surging forward motion, and that works. But when you compare him to the Wolf Guard Terminator kit, he looks so plain. Like, I think he needs to be resculpted to be more in line with the Wolf Guard Terminator looks, because those look fantastic. And with some conversions, you can make this arm, this Stormbolt arm, and pretty much convert up your own fantastic looking Logan Grimnar. And I think that may be a better way to go if you don't mind doing a little conversion work. Only because this one model I think really needs some loving, and hasn't gotten it really, in my opinion. So that's model-wise. Now, in terms of war gear, rules, point cost, stat line, whatever, I think he's fair. He's points heavy. He's not, I say he's appropriately point costed. He's not too expensive where it's just out of the question, and he's not under point costed where it's like, why don't you field him all the time? If you field him, you're definitely going to be taking a cut in your arm. You're definitely going to be taking a hit. You're definitely going to have to reposition, maybe remake an army list to fit better and get more things to support him better, or support the army in general as better, because he's 275 points. Remember, if he doesn't win you the game, he's not your army. Your army is there. Your army wins you the game. He supports that. That's how all special characters should be played. If you play them the other way, I will say I think you're doing it wrong. Now, he may be kicking some ass and doing great, but that's not really how you're supposed to use him, and I think you're limiting yourself when you use a character that way. But no, I think he's fine. He only has 3 wounds, wounds of 3. And other chapter masters that I've seen are 4 wounds. I don't know if Dante is, I have to double check. He's the latest Space Marines Codex to come out, which is why I mentioned him. But, so, he doesn't have as many wounds. He has 1 extra attack, but not as many wounds. Kind of a trade-off. The only thing I would say is maybe give him that 4th wound, just to make him more like the rest of the chapter masters. Maybe increase his points another 5 points if you want to. I don't really think it's necessary, but some people might. And 280 points at 4 wounds and 5 attacks, plus everything else, really isn't that over the top either. So I don't think there really would be too much cause for alarm there. But that'll probably never happen, at least not for another 10 years or so. So no need to really worry about that. But that's all I think that really needs to be added to him. Other than that, I think he's a very solid character. I'm not a Space Wolf fan, but I think he's a very solid character. If you do accounts as arm for like Iron Hands, whatever, Bajoran is a good Iron Hands special Iron Hands HQ to field, and accounts as armor using the Space Wolf Codex, and so is Logan Grimnar in Terminator armor. Well, he only can be filled in Terminator armor, but you get my point. So, not just for Iron Hands, that's the first thing that comes to mind, but he is a great special character, and he's equipped generically enough. I mean, he has a special named axe, but that if you do accounts as, not like Marneus, where, you know, the 2 Power Fist thing and his gauntlets are pretty unique. You can do accounts as Logan and make it more believable because it's just a really cool power weapon. So, not that other ones aren't believable, but it's just a little bit easier in my opinion. Anyway, that's it for Logan Grimnar, and until next time, take it easy.